Our Instagram Reels for business, did I say that right? Yeah. Are Instagram Reels for business really worth it? Well, on this episode, we're going behind the scenes to share what we have learned about Reels and Instagram, and ultimately if we decided it was worth it for us. If you're new here, I'm Jen Neal, founder of Formula Done, and I help experienced business owners find online traffic and get more leads using the content they've already had. If any of that sounds interesting to you, be sure you check out our other videos on the channel and check out our blogs at thevirtualjen.com. All right, so I told you I was going to go behind the scenes and share if we found out if Instagram Reels for business were actually really worth it. Well, I can tell you that I think as a business owner, it's easy to fall into the trap of doing things for the sake of doing things, not necessarily because they're still helping you reach and achieve your goals. So that's exactly what we looked at, and that's exactly where we're going to get started right now. So over about a year and a half ago, and if you go look at our Instagram feed at The Virtual Jen or Formula Done, you can totally see exactly where our social media manager came on board, because she came on, and especially on our Instagram feed, she's like, yeah, we're going to clean this up, which was great because we were not doing a fantastic job on our own. So what she did was put together a content plan based on our content repurposing from our podcast, which I've talked about in other episodes. And we revamped what we were doing with Instagram with the goal of growing our Instagram account and getting more leads and traffic coming to us from the content we're posting out on Instagram. Makes total sense, right? And so she was able to grow our channel over the course of about a year. Both of our Instagram accounts on both Formula Done and The Virtual Jen completely grew. And in fact, they more than doubled, which sounds pretty amazing, but our numbers are still really small, so they're easy to double, right? So what we did was we had been posting a lot of solo pictures or longer format videos. So Carol came in and was working with us, and she said, you know what, we really need to focus on using Reels, because in posting some of the things that we had done, she looked at the stats and the numbers for every one of our posts, right? And every week she reviewed where we were at. Every month we got together as a team and looked at how our channel was doing, what the top performing posts were, what was actually getting people's attention, both in terms of headlines and posts and types of posts, times of day, colors, fonts, those kinds of things we were using. So we played around with quite a few different things and found that some of the things that people really, really liked were the quotable quotes or the statistics that we could kind of share. So that started becoming a thing that we did more of. And as we started to do those, we realized that the posts where we were sharing more like actionable item information, those started to really outperform. And so Carol came back to us after several months and said, all right, I think we need to start looking at Instagram Reels for business, because it definitely seems to get more engagement, right? So we said, okay, if we're going to do Reels, what can we repurpose from content we're already using? So we started with some little snippets, and then we started playing with the tips that we were doing. We're totally getting more engagement already. So we said, what if we turn those into actual Reels themselves? So that's what we did. It didn't mean that we were creating any additional content on top of what we already were, but what it meant was we were repurposing that in a different way. And so we ran some experiments to see if using those Instagram Reels would actually get us more engagement. And there's a pretty cool stat here, speaking of sharing cool statistics, that Instagram Reels get more engagement, like more than regular video content, at a rate of 22%. It's not a huge percentage increase, but I will still take a 22% increase on any kind of social media engagement. So we repurposed our tips and turned those into Reels and started posting those as part of our regular content. And they completely worked. Every time we posted a Reel, we got at least 1,000 views, usually way upwards. We had some that immediately went up into the 5,000-6,000 range. Pretty freaking cool, right? So we were excited. We're like, ooh, how can we do more reels? How can we repurpose more of our content into a way that's going to get us even more engagement? And so we played with some that were kind of more fun, personal. We played with some that really played off of the statistics and questionable things. We also tried doing some reels as some of our like little content chunks from these episodes right here. So what we found in the end was that really the tip reels totally still outperformed all the rest of them, right? So it's a pretty awesome experiment. And if you go check out the Virtual Gen or Formula Done, both of those channels have different reels on them. And it was been a lot of fun to kind of produce those and see how the channel has grown and how that is getting more engagement. So I'm curious, comment below. I want to hear, are you actually looking at your posts and your stats for engagement on Instagram or on any of your social channels for that matter? And if not, are you looking at them right now? It is definitely, if you are highly involved in Instagram and you're looking for a little bit more engagement, Reels definitely are the ticket. And I am not going to give you a tutorial on how to do that. There are plenty of other amazing people that do that. Lots and lots of blog posts. If you check out our blog, I have some links to some other blog posts. And I also do highly recommend, you guys know that I love Vanessa Lau. Check out her videos. She has really great Instagram engagement as well as YouTube. And she's done some awesome tutorials on exactly how to use Instagram Reels for business and walk step by step on how to do those. So go check that out for sure. So since we're talking about stats and engagement and all of those things, I have another couple of stats that I want to share with you, which started to lead us down the path of our Instagram Reels really worth it for our business, right? So the first stat that I would like to point out is the average engagement of an Instagram business post is 0.96%. I had to look at my notes because I want to give you the right number. Let me repeat that. The average engagement of an Instagram business post is 0.96%. Not amazing, right? All right, I got another stat for you. This may or may not apply to your business. For us, it definitely did. 88% of Instagram users, that is quite a large majority, right? 88% of Instagram users are outside of the United States. Okay. So putting those two things together and looking at some of our amazing growth that we had done on our Instagram channel, I told you guys we doubled it, right? Actually, we more than doubled it. We're still not over 1,000 followers, right? And if I look at the traffic coming to our site or coming to any of our funnels or anything like that from Instagram, the percentage is really, really low. Now, is part of that maybe in the way that we were posting or not having links up in our bio or some of those things? Sure, it could be. But where we ended was saying, you know what? We put a lot of time and effort into really growing our Instagram channel for both Formula Done and the Virtual Gen. And we spent over a good solid year posting consistently. We were posting probably 5 to 8 times a week, right? Very consistent, very branded on point. All of our stuff's going to our blog posts and all these awesome things that we've been working on. Have they been working? Not really. I mean, we're getting some traffic, but it's not enough that I would say it warrants us creating content specifically for Instagram and going through the posting. And that's where I just really had to look and say, okay, what is our goal here? And are we actually achieving our goal? So in our last team meeting during our hiatus, which if you want to hear what else we did during the hiatus, check out that episode. One of the things that we really looked at was we wanted to change the way we're repurposing our content, where we're putting all of our posting. And it felt like Instagram was not the place for growth. Now, is it important to maintain a branding, a stand-up? Like if somebody goes to look us up on Instagram, I still think it's super important that they're able to find something and that it's not just an abandoned channel that hasn't been posted in for, let's say, for several months, because there has been a hiatus now for about 3 weeks, and that one's totally my fault. Let's say, completely abandoned, and it hasn't been updated for several months. So what we decided was that we want to continue to maintain a brand presence on Instagram. So we know that Instagram Reels do get more engagement, right? Now, we're not necessarily after engagement, but it seems to be a format that plays really well on Instagram. Also, when you have a reel, it shows up in the explore section, which is where a lot of people go when they're trying to kind of just dink around and waste time on Instagram. Like, they go into explore and, hey, what should I look at, right? So based on those things, we figured that it would still be good to have a presence. Now, having a presence doesn't mean that we're posting 5 to 8 times a week. Having a presence means we're posting just a few times a week. So when we looked at how we were going to use our content and not create something new specifically for Instagram, but instead take what we were already producing and repurpose it so that we could use that to maintain our branding front, but we weren't actively pursuing trying to grow that channel. So where we landed is some of the content we're already producing right here. Some of these fun things like the tips, we're still going to keep doing because y'all love the tips. And if you aren't going to our blog, by the way, to go download each of these tips for every single episode, we turn those tips into an awesome infographic that you can just go grab right from our blog for completely free with no opt-ins. Like, it's legit, just go grab it. Anyway, plug over. So we put all of our brain power behind this and said, what are we going to do? So we know we're still producing the tips. We know also that there's fun things like, did you know 88% of Instagram users are outside the US? That's a pretty awesome stat. Well, not awesome if you have a business in the US and are trying to build it on Instagram. But we found that those stats are really fun when we turn them into like an infographic-y type thing with a chart or the numbers or like those kinds of things. And people really like to save those, share them, those kinds of things, right? So we're already producing those because we're building them up for our blog anyway. So we literally, we stepped back and said, where do we want to go? So for us, we are producing this amazing podcast, right? It's coming right here on YouTube. We're producing first for YouTube, and we're repurposing that podcast into our blog and into our actual podcast, right? And then we take our snippets and things from there and we create extra graphics that we're using inside of our podcast. And then we're also sharing those graphics out on Pinterest and LinkedIn and Facebook, of course, and we're sharing our blog in other places as well. So we decided, all right, let's take those same did you know pieces that we're doing. We're already creating those in both graphic and video format, as well as our tips. So we looked at all of the assets we already had. And the other thing that we decided to do, which this probably doesn't apply to too many of you, but we have 2 different channels. Now, why do we have 2 different channels? Well, because it started off as just Formula Done. And as we were pivoting in agency, we knew we wanted sort of an authority site that everybody could go to that's exactly the same. And as I'm going out and doing more speaking spots and I'm appearing on other podcasts, we wanted something where people could look up my name and be able to find us. So we have the Virtual Jen website, which has links to literally every single thing that we do. And our Formula Done site, which is the business site, and it just has, here's the services, here's how you can engage with us, here's how you get a hold of us. So one is much more businessy and one is much more talking head, me, right? Because when you work with us, you gotta like my personality because that's what you're gonna get a whole lot of, right? So we decided to not only repurposing that content, but we decided we want to post a couple of times a week on each channel on Instagram. Now, the Formula Done channel is going to be much more of the business, the designy, did you know slides, or the tip slides, infographics and stuff. If you've seen those, they're really awesome. And it's going to be much more kind of the polished business look on that side. And then occasional, we will include one of the videos or the reels in there with my face, just so that there's still a little bit of interest with the reel, but it's still just on point with like, it's just straightforward, just business. There you go. And then on the virtual gen side, we're going to really develop that as more character development. So we're going to put a whole lot more of the videos and less polished looking and try to see how that changes our numbers, right? So we're going to take our repurposed content with super cool facts, did you know things, tips, little mini stories. Those kinds of things are all going to get shared as reels. We're going to be largely reel focused on the virtual gen and use that as kind of more of a storytelling face platform, right? So check back in a year. Maybe we'll have some new updates to share with you, but that is our new experiment that we are going to be doing. And all that will be rolling out here by the first of the year. So you guys can watch as we experiment right along with you. So back to the main question. Are Instagram Reels for business worth it? For us, the answer is kind of. We decided Instagram wasn't really worth it for us in terms of trying to grow. So we're stepping back and just maintaining a presence. We are using Reels to accomplish that goal. It's the path we are setting out. If I was not using the Reels or producing the Reels already for another purpose, would I say that creating the Reels for Instagram and Instagram alone was worth it? And I'm going to say no. Because we're already creating that content for something else and we can repurpose it and use it for this process, then yes, I will say we think that it's worth it at least to try this little experiment and see what happens. So I urge you to really look at it and say, are Instagram Reels right for your business? It depends. Depends on where your people are coming from. It depends on how big your channel already is and if that channel makes sense for you to grow. It's entirely possible that it can happen, right? It's just not something that we excelled in and probably not something that we really need. For the most part, I'm going to say big thumbs down, not worth it. However, we are still proceeding with Reels because we're doing Reels from repurposed content. And if you want to check out some of the repurposed content, ways that you can repurpose Reels, I mentioned our awesome tips, I mentioned our blog. If you go check out the Virtual Gen blog for this episode, you can grab our tip infographic that we have, which is 7 ways to repurpose Instagram Reels for business. There's some pretty cool repurposing ways in there that might get your brain thinking about other ways that you could create Reels and use those videos in repurposed content for other scenarios. And then it might make Reels worth it for you as well. All right, thank you for playing along. Make sure you comment below and let me know if you're now checking out your stats, because that's like one of my #1 goals, right? And if you like this video, make sure you hit the like, share it, comment, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can get notified every Thursday when we drop a new episode.